All right, so I'm going to share with you something today that you won't hear anywhere else. And it's based on and gleaned from my 22 years of study and practice in the healing and regenerative arts. So we have something here that is one of the best kept secrets of all time, but not because I want it to be, but because it defies most people's programming. It's like people can be hypnotized from receiving it, hypnotized against it, which is why it's so important that you put away all your distractions and can really focus right now so you can really get this, because it is that important. It is that big. It is that special. And I'm that excited to share it with you. All right. So I've heard from so many of you. I hear from you on a regular basis, and I have a bit of a bead on what's happening in health globally and what's happening to human beings. So based on that, I've put together this list, and I want you to look at this list with new eyes. This list is evidence of deterioration. This is going to come into play later. I'm laying layers down here. All right, so I'm going to go through this list, and I want you to know these are the things that I know are going on pervasively, globally, and specifically among people I speak to every day. So we have thinning hair and hair loss. This is a big one. I'm hearing about this almost daily. I have people asking about this. Drooping, loose skin, skin breakouts, hormonal imbalances, forgetfulness and brain fog, arthritis, the onset of diabetes, inflammatory bowel disorders and poor digestion, chronic lung infections and bladder infections, difficulty conceiving for the women, poor mojo for the men, dental diseases, root canals, mood disorders and chemical imbalances, and even incontinence among those who are not yet considered elderly. That's a pretty serious thing. Everything seems to be falling apart because it is. But all that can be turned around. Okay, these issues and the countless unlisted others have one common cause. That is accumulated toxic waste. Okay, so that is the evidence of deterioration. We can correct it, but we have to understand it. We have to understand what it is specifically. So the accumulated toxic waste has permeated your organism, and it's eating away at the fabric of your skin, your bones, your organs, your endocrine glands, and it's contaminating your fluids, your blood, your lymph, and your cellular fluids. It's causing inflammation, and it's essentially souring, acidifying your body. The acidity from this toxic waste is consuming the fabric of your cells, your tissues, and organs, and the whole organism from within. But we can turn this around. That's the good news. At first, it sounded like, I know, this sounds like, wait a minute, we have this accumulated waste, toxic waste matter, and it's eating away at the fabric of our cells and tissues and bones. And that sounds like, the end point. Not so. And I'm going to share with you why in a moment. Do you have a favorite really old t-shirt or sweater or pair of socks that's practically threadbare because you've worn it so much? If you do, then you know what it takes to wear a piece of fabric down. You wear it and you get it dirty, and maybe you wash it a ton or occasionally or never, but the material over time breaks down. This is called entropy, and it's what happens to material things. They go from their highest state of order, like when you just bought it, to disorder over time. Okay, now, while you look at these slides of Princess Diana, Amal Clooney, and Jackie O in their Chanel suits, I'm going to tell you a little personal story. From a very young age, I became aware of the importance of a Chanel suit. It was clear to me by about 12 years old that if a woman was to have power over 40 when her body went south, that she could magically have that power restored to her simply by wearing a Chanel suit. The way that tweed would hold her together would camouflage her matured body and make her body appear miraculously ageless. In the suit, her body would take on the qualities of this rarefied knit of the Chanel tweed and empower her with an air of chic, elegant polish, despite her physical shape. Flash forward, here I am, nearly 50, and I don't own a single Chanel suit. While I still think they are aesthetically very beautiful, the fact is your body has the potential integrity to be better than even Chanel tweed. And you can defy and reverse the whole body going south thing too. Man or woman, it's simply an issue of disintegration due to the accumulated impurities, the accumulated toxic waste matter. The issue is disintegration in the tissues. The lost connection creates and results in a loss of power. So the issues are in your tissues, but we can fix them. We can restore the power through purification. So what happens is when connection is lost in the threads of your tissues, the life force power is lost. Your birthday suit should actually be the best fabric, but it's not, because it's a reflection of the disintegration inside. Remember the evidence of disintegration that we spoke about in the first slide. But unlike that old worn out sweatshirt, your birthday suit is alive. Let that sink in for a second. So now I want to share with you the 5 reasons why your birthday suit, which should never deteriorate, winds up deteriorating. So these are the reasons. There's 5 reasons. One is the interruption because the threads of your integrity of your fabric get cut. The second reason is they become tangled. The third reason is obstruction impedes the flow. The fourth reason is incoherent forces act upon the threads. And finally, shock impacts the threads. So those are the 5 reasons that the threads of the integrity of the fabric of your body are broken, are lost. And remember, if connection is lost, the power has no way to flow. So if you think about a wave, think about a sound wave or a light wave, and it's making its wave. Imagine if there's an interruption. So that interruption is obstruction. That interruption is a cut thread. That interruption it's tangled, so it can't get through. So there's going to be either nothing getting through, or in the case of incoherence or shock, there will be dissonance. There'll be disturbance. So the message that comes through, the information, the power that comes through will be distorted, it will be incoherent, or it will not exist at all. So when these 5 things happen, that's when the integrity of your organism starts to fall apart, because the power that should be conducting is broken, it's impeded. Okay, you can take a moment to take in these images if you like, and then we can go to the next slide. Actually, before we do, just want to emphasize maybe a little bit why I chose these images. Here you can see in the arterial blockage, so you can see how when flow is impeded, what can happen. You can see what happens when there's great impact, the shock that's created when there is a blow to the head, like the case of a concussion, when there's a football tackle or punch in boxing to the head. The zigzags are the incoherence. And of course, you can see the tangled threads and what happens when cords are cut, the communication doesn't work. So that telephone is not going to work. The cord's cut unless there's, of course, wireless, but then, that can be impeded too with incoherence. So that's why I want to give you these images to really anchor what these concepts are like in reality. Okay, so what is it that this accumulated toxic waste matter is made out of? How does this happen in our body? The biggest reason is the food and drink waste. So that's like, if we were to take everything here, that would be 90% of it, because we're told that we can eat and digest, assimilate, and eliminate seamlessly of the foods that our culture is encouraged to consume, but that's not true. So that's a conversation that's a little bit bigger than what we can address here. But suffice it to say that food and drink waste are a major part of this accumulated toxic waste matter. So in and among that, we have the toxic chemicals we're exposed to, the radiation in our environment, heavy metals, they accumulate in that waste matter, and the environmental hormones and microplastics. Then we have all of the cells that are trying to leave the body that can't. They're old cells, they're dead cells. They're cells that are going through a process where they're supposed to be leaving, and they've made their adjustments. They've contributed to the evolution of the body, but they can't get out because there's no exit for them anymore because of all this accumulated waste matter. So they pile up and pile up and pile up. And then in and among this waste, because it's stagnant and because the decay cycle insists upon, this is the way the decay cycle works, it insists that the pathogens come to break down this waste. Then you have all of the pathogenic, let's say, community that decides to come along and, and feast off of all of this waste. So there you have your parasites, your rogue bacteria, your mold and fungus, and your noxious gases. And they are creating colonies. And in their colonies, they have to consume, and their excrement becomes part of this. So their own ways of consuming things and releasing things is also taking place in and amongst the real estate of your body, because they're living off of this waste matter and they're processing this waste matter. So instead of being a system that is able to flow and release and be in flow, which is essential to the life cycle, it takes on all of the qualities and the expressions of the decay cycle. So that's what happens. And that's why there's so much matter. And that's why there's all this incoherence. The messages can't get through. The power can't get through. This is eating away at the integrity of the tissues. So the threads of life are being broken down. They're being acidified. They're souring. It's the waste that's sitting in the gut. It's not just, sitting there innocuously doing nothing. It's actually eating away at the intestinal tissue, which is why people wind up having to have colostomy bags and all sorts of colon surgeries. So it's eating away at the integrity of the organs, hence organ surgeries and everything. So this is why what's happening is happening. It's the disintegration due to the saturation of the body in this waste matter. All right, I know that's not a pretty sight, but I keep on telling you, we can recover the body. We just have to understand what's going on to begin with. So these are all the reasons for the connections to be lost, and they're all due to impurity. The pileup, the eating away the tissue, it's all happening because of the initial impurity. The flow has been prevented, the stagnation, the staleness incites the death cycle, the decay cycle. It's one and the same. Okay, so our culture is doing a great job of teaching us how to die. We just have to take a moment to accept and reflect on that. Our culture does a great job of teaching us how to die. It doesn't teach us how to live. So we need to bring how to live online. We need to see through this and rectify it. We know how to die. We see it happening all around us all the time, getting worse, amplified around the clock. We can change this immediately. All of the whole scenario I just shared with you, we can actually totally turn it around, because while all that connection has been lost, we can restore it for one simple, amazing reason. You are made of living tissue. You're not like that sweatshirt or those socks or that t-shirt that just gets old and disintegrates and that's it. That's it for them, but it's not it for you. If we reverse the obstruction, if we restore the cut threads, if we detangle the threads, if we bring about coherence and enable the lost energy from the shock to come rushing back, then guess what? You regenerate. You're made to regenerate. We can restore connection and integrity to our fabric. And this is why you're better than Chanel tweed. Nice as it might look, you are way better. Okay, so now I'm going to lay down the big secret law. We're going to anchor this. We're going to define it. Life force power is subject to the quality of its connection. Viable connection requires purity. Therefore, your access to power depends upon your degree of purity. So the law is this: purity is the quintessential prerequisite to power. Okay, we're going to repeat that a few times. So don't worry if you didn't, it'll anchor in you. Don't worry. And I'm going to just explain why, because I really want you guys to understand this. If there are impurities, filth, toxicity, eating away at the threads of your connections, you will not receive the power that's required for you to function, thrive, and reach your fullest potential. The extent to which power can move through any living form is entirely dependent upon it having the energetic or physical pathways through which it can conduct its power. If it can't conduct its power, it can't get there. Without purity, the threads of energy conducting the power will be worn down, disintegrated. Therefore, only through removing the impurities impeding the flow of power and thereby restoring the viability of those energetic and physical threads can the real potential of life be expressed and experienced. So you can purify and become empowered, or remain filled with filth and watch power consistently depart from you and disintegration increase. This is why this program is called Pure Power. I just want to anchor this again. Just say it over and over again. Write it down everywhere. Purity is the quintessential prerequisite to power. And power, of course, just to take a second to make sure we're on the same page about what power is. Power is the supreme source, the absolute all in all, the highest vibration from which all of life comes forth. The infinite intelligence, it is light, it is love, it is the highest of that pitch and that vibration from which all of life flows. The force from the source and the source itself. So we're not talking about power over others. We're not talking about material possessions power in political ways or corporate power. We're talking about specifically the life force power. And so they are completely interreliant and interdependent. Okay, so let's just, again, I want to anchor this a little bit more, a few points. Power can only do so much if it can't conduct. So you can have all the power in the world outside of your realm or potentially within you, but if it can't conduct, it's not going to get to where it needs to go. Power is fully reliant upon connection and integrity. So if there's no connection, the power can't flow. And integrity is fully reliant upon purity. So the second the filth, the rot, the decay creep in, the integrity is diminished. Okay, so now this is better than Chanel tweed. This is what you have. Okay, this integrity, this quality of fiber, this fabric that is your body, that makes up your cells, tissues, and organs in your organism is beyond the beyond. There is no designer in, the stratosphere, universe, multiverse, other than the creator, the source, who can create this kind of a suit. And this is yours. This is what you have. So running around shopping for things that are in any way your core inheritance, that which you came into the world with, your birthday suit, is the best there is. It's just that it needs to be reached. It needs to be lifted to its full potential. It's been prevented from being its full potential. So if we can reverse the contamination of this and stop contaminating it, then you can have this living tissue that is meant to just generate and regenerate. There's no reason for this to stop going from strength to strength. It's just that that's what we've been trained to believe. And that's what we see. We don't see examples of the other. So keeping it waste and pathogen free. And I say the 15% rule here because naturally we're going to be exposed to pathogens. Naturally, we're going to have pathogens acting in the body. That's 15% of the sort of pathogen to expression to 85% of the body being, in its, let's say, beneficial microbial state. So we are designed to be able to handle pathogens. I'm not saying we're going to be, and also we need to make a very clear distinction between something being clean, sanitized, versus something being sterilized. So we're not looking for sterility here. The natural cleanliness of the body can handle a certain degree of pathogenic load, but there's so many good guys. There's so many, it keeps everything intact, and it actually keeps them fit in that sense, keeps the immune system fit to have some exposure. But the problem is that the modern person becomes overrun. So now we've seen what integrity of tissue looks like. This is what the symptoms of disintegration of the tissue looks like. So you can see the ulcerative colitis. You can see, I just put the t-shirt in there too, so you can see that it's like the decaying, disintegrating t-shirt idea. You've got the arthritis and the bone inflammation, joint inflammation. And these are, we'll just fly through these. They're just to give you an idea that the things you see in yourself or in everyday people, this is all exactly the same cause, whether it's the disintegration and the decay in the colon, or it's the face falling, or it's the sagging skin. This is all part of the same expression. And then you have the skin eruptions, which the skin being the largest organ and the second largest eliminative organ, it's trying to carry all this waste out that the colon isn't managing. So where you see the acne, the thrush, the eczema, and acidic internal ulcers, you're seeing the body being overloaded with these pathogens. So when you see this, you don't want to just cover it up and walk away from it. You want to appreciate the fact that this is coming from this accumulation of toxic waste and it needs to be dealt with. If we suppress these things, then we merely ignore the symptom a little bit longer and fail to address it that much longer, in which case it's not going away. It's just proliferating in its own way. It's all so easy to turn around. Okay, so what you need to know at this point is that there is a way to live that will reverse the deterioration and regenerate the fabric of your body. And all that needs to happen is to remove the accumulated waste and then enjoy the regeneration process that follows. I call it a tale of two options. Option one, keep decaying, keep rotting, keep disintegrating, keep doing what culture tells you is right and normal and healthy, keep disintegrating. Or option two, experience the great epiphany of how impurities take hold of the body by normal living, which is dying, and turn the whole scenario around, removing the toxicity and achieving your true potential. What are you guys going to choose? Can I guess? I think I know. All right, so we have to appreciate that we, of course, are a complex being with an emotional field, with a mental field, with an energetic field, with a spiritual field. We are so many things. It's unfortunate that with our reductionist culture, we tend to, break everything down into parts. But the same thing, the same concept, as above, so below, happened in our mental and emotional fields as well. So once we gain pure power in the physical field, we'll see that the same approach will restore our mental and emotional fields as well. A healthy heart and a healthy headspace are the results of expunging the mental and energetic waste and toxicity from those areas too. So the same approach applies. There's the same cause, the cut threads, tangled threads, all those things we mentioned, the incoherence, the shock, and the obstruction. That's what's put us in states of mental and emotional unwellness. And we can turn that around simply by restoring those threads, making what was tangled, untangled, restoring order, and bringing everything to purity, going back to the quintessential law that we addressed earlier. So just like the body when it's toxic, the heart and mind miss out on the higher forces, but they can also be regenerated, and all the functional emotions and mental clarity can come flooding back again. So if you're thinking that, how it's great that you can restore your body, but what about restoring your mental and emotional fields? We do it the same way, same approach. It's wonderful. It's just, it's a very simple, clean, effective way of bringing the body, the whole being, back into its highest potential. Because we can't reach our highest potential if we're just achieving a level of excellence in one of these areas. We have to achieve it in all of the areas, and they're all interdependent, of course. All right, so in summary, the simple fact is that accumulated toxic waste matter, which is ultimately decaying rot, this rotting decay comes as a result of conditions that we can reverse and prevent. The rotting decay is what is causing all your terrible symptoms, disease, weight problems, and your cosmetic challenges. Living naturally in the life cycle does not result in any version or expression of the illness and discomfort we see today. The future will be the domain of the wise who know this and adjust their way of life accordingly. Create purity, restore connection with great integrity, and bada bing, bada bang, you'll get power. And that power, with all its infinite intelligence, with its know-how, will go in and restore everything that has previously been interrupted. So because I know how important this is, and it is my life's mission to help people do this and achieve this, I wanted to create a platform whereby people could have the support. Everyone who wants it could have the support they need, the knowledge, the encouragement, the consistent care, the community, regular exercises to do to keep you on the path, and check-in points. I wanted to create a world where you could go and ensure that this transformation can happen within you because you had all the support you need. So we've created a year-round platform called Pure Power. And this will enable you to have the steady stream of guidance, support, motivation, encouragement, and knowledge. This is the place you can go to reliably have the best information, the specificity, the specific information you need to do this, because there are a lot of different schools of thought around things, and they can get scattered and confusing. This will take all of the knowledge around this work and keep it in a container so that you can really achieve it without distractions, without confusing information and other things. So it's one place for you to feel like you really are with other people who are on the same page with you, who understand, who can motivate you and inspire you. And of course, I am fully focused on this group and this platform because this is where I'm going to put all of my time, energy, and focus rather than, scattering it. So this is where you can find me and the knowledge and the support. Pure Power Platform will support the restoration of your body, your mind, and your heart in every way. We are not stopping with the body. We are doing this with the mind and the heart. We're talking about full restoration here. It's been created to ensure you reverse the cause of your deterioration and bring about the regeneration you should experience. So what I've learned over time is that people need these basic 4 things: consistency and repetition, fresh ideas, fresh experiences, and loving support, understanding, care, and direction of a community. These are the 4 things that we're going to make sure that are constantly in flow with the Pure Power Platform. Every month, you're going to know that you're going to be able to check in and recalibrate. This is all going to ensure that you have the consistency and repetition. You have fresh ideas coming through, fresh clarification on the knowledge, new approaches to it. You're going to have fresh experiences because you're going to be engaging in all of this and sharing and listening to other people and bringing your own questions and your own experiences to the group. And you can do that as anonymously as you want to, or as much as you want to be, putting yourself out there, sharing personally. So it's all going to be there for us to ensure that we fully reach our potential and we get that fabric of our body, our mind, our hearts, so that together in perfect integrity, so we can see our true potential, so we can watch our soul expand and watch our spirits soar and feel our spirits soar. And just wanted to say thank you so much for being here today, every single day. I think how fortunate I am to have this knowledge, and I get to live this life. I get to live and go through all of the difficulties and everything that happens in the course of a life with this undergirding me and bringing me such a consistent state of excellent physical, mental, and emotional health. So I give gratitude to the work and you and the team. So thank you all so much for your time and for your trust and confidence in me. It's not lost on me, and I hope this has been beneficial.